So you either own a Switch or you don't have a Switch yet, and you want to know, is it worth upgrading to a Switch 2? Well, in this video, I'm going to be going over a lot of different reasons why people are upgrading, and the number one reason people upgrade are because of new games. So the most notable Switch 2 game would probably be Mario Kart World, which allows for up to 24 players to race online, adds a new free roam mode to experience the tracks from new angles and to experience the world around you. Oh, and new unexpected characters are also there, like you can play as a cow, penguin, or even an armless Goomba. I mean, look at these guys. And I'm sure, like Mario Kart 8, there'll be more downloadable characters and courses in the future. Actually, guys, speaking of Mario Kart, on release date June 5th, I actually pre-ordered a Switch 2 and will be live streaming it, so that way you guys will be able to see for yourselves whether or not owning a Switch 2 is going to be worth it. Ask me multiple questions during the live streams. There's going to be cards that pop up on screen that will make me do different things, like pick what character I drive, or make me stop driving, make me use my item right away in a bad situation. You guys can choose to be nice or evil with these cards. Anyways, let's talk about the next game. So the next new game that I'm probably most excited about is going to be Donkey Kong Bonanza. There has not been another 3D Donkey Kong game since Donkey Kong 64 back in 1999. I know a lot of you out there have been hoping for a new 3D Mario game, but I bet that will come. But for now, this Donkey Kong game looks amazing. First of all, everything is destructible. Like, I mean, you can dig a tunnel straight down, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a hidden banana treasure chest there for you to collect. I mean, who doesn't want to skate down on a rock in the jungle if you had a chance? This open world game looks amazing. In fact, I already pre-ordered it. And don't get me started on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. In reality, this is also going to release on the Switch 1 and Switch 2. However, the Switch 2 edition will bring more power to provide significant improvements in visuals, smoother performance, and a more modern control scheme, making it the definitive version of the game. But more about performance differences between the consoles later. You also have the ability to use the Joy-Con with the Switch 2 like a mouse if you wanted to in the Switch 2 version of this game, which I thought was kind of cool. But this game looks awesome. From trying to escape this beautiful planet to defending yourself from these alien beasts, all the while finding new mysterious powers that basically give Samus the Force.
I am Steve.
Using this new powers to solve various puzzles in the game and lets you control the bullets in mid-flight. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond was needed for the Metroid series, since we have not had a new one since Metroid Dread in 2021, unless you count the remastered version in 2023. And what about Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which is a prequel to Tears of the Kingdom story-wise, but with a more combat-focused gameplay-wise. The story takes place during the events of the thousands of years before Tears of the Kingdom and shares the same art style, where you play as Zelda and the Zonai King and potentially other characters as well to fight for the future of Hyrule. If it is anything like the previous game, Age of Calamity, then you can anticipate to fight lots of hordes. So Kirby Air Riders is another game that was revealed that released later this year. It's kind of weird to me that they're releasing two kart style games with Mario Kart and Kirby Air Rides in the same release year, but I'm still excited for it. Kirby Air Riders is a sequel to the GameCube version Kirby Air Ride without an S in 2023 on the GameCube. I personally own this game and loved it, especially the free roaming in the city, where I would always go to the top of the volcano, glide to this golden platform thing floating in the middle of the sky, and then I would inevitably fall to the bottom. Poor 7-year-old Matthew didn't know how to play the game very well. Now, I always loved, but was really bad at driving that one air ride machine that could stop on a dime. Does anyone over the age of 29 remember this game at all? I love this game. And the original had more than just racing, but also a battle mode. So I hope that makes its way over to Kirby Air Riders as well. Anyways, for the new Kirby Air Riders with an S, for the Switch 2, we did not really get a lot of like information or gameplay in the trailer, but what we did see was some return of some of the classic air ride machines with different colors of Kirby's on them. So I'm excited to see the future trailers of this game later in the year. Now let me know if there's any games that you're excited about that's releasing on the Switch 2 that I didn't cover. However, in addition to this list, I am positive that there's going to be a new 3D Mario, a 2D Mario, a new mainline Zelda game, a new Super Smash Brothers, a new Astral Chain, and surely a new Pokemon for Generation 10. And hopefully the rumors are actually true that they're going to release a new Star Fox as well. So now that you've heard about all these new games, does this push you over the edge into buying a Switch 2 or not yet? Are you waiting for other games to come out or something like that? Now let's keep in mind the backwards compatibility that the Switch 2 has announced, that you'll be able to play pretty much any Switch 1 game on the Switch 2, which is pretty nice. So let's talk about the performance increase that you might be able to see if you put your Switch 1 game in a Switch 2 console. So for the specs, what we're going to be doing is comparing the Switch 2 to the Switch OLED, since that's a more powerful version of the Switch. Now, I'm not going to go over all the specs, but I am going to mention some things. So here are the different specs I could find, most notably the bigger screen. In fact, I think it's the biggest screen out there on the market right now when it comes to handhelds, because I think the Steam Deck is only 7.4 inches, while the Switch 2 is going to be 7.9 inches. Wow. Another nice upgrade is going to be the Switch 2 is going to be able to play 1080p when in handheld mode, but up to 4K when in docked mode. That's 120 frames per second, and even if it is an LCD screen still, it supports HDR, which is probably saving grace for Nintendo since they decided to not do OLED. I'm hoping the main reason they didn't do OLED is to save us money on the price of the console. Another nice change is that it comes with more storage by default, with the ability to add extra storage with an SD card. And the Switch 2 has two USB ports, one on top and bottom, so that way you'll be able to plug in accessories, charger from the top, or hopefully in the future they'll add a new accessory to be able to add like a second screen, so that way you can play like DS games. That would be cool in my opinion. And now that means you'll finally be able to charge your Switch while it's on the stand, rather than having to have it poke out and all this weird stuff, and just charge it right on top. It's like a no-brainer of an upgrade to me. So enough about the actual system. Now let's move on over to the Joy-Cons. So did you guys know that the Switch 1 Joy-Cons will actually be compatible and work on the Switch 2? Definitely keep that in mind after you see the price difference of these two, because the compatibility is amazing for Nintendo to add. This might mean you don't want to sell all your Switch Joy-Cons, because you might want to just hold on to them for extra controllers for your friends on the Switch 2. And if you still have some broken Joy-Cons, I'm pretty sure Switch is still repairing them for free, even covering the price of shipping. Just watch this video right here and I'll show you how to do it. But now let's start talking about the actual differences. So the first thing that comes to mind is the size. So obviously the Switch 2 is more designed for larger hands, which is good, because the Joy-Cons on the Switch 1 felt like toys essentially. Hopefully this feels a lot better. Not only did they increase the physical size, they also made it easier to reach the side buttons on the in and a larger joystick. And the Switch 1 uses rails, while the Switch 2 uses magnets. And am I the only one that kind of thinks that the Switch 2 new intros that they have before every single advertisement is better on the Switch 2 than the sliding of the Switch 1? So definitely keep in mind that if you decide to get rid of your Switch 1 Joy-Con, then you may need to find a different way to charge it, because they are not going to slide on to the Switch 2, and vice versa. One other thing to notice is that I did not see an IR reader on the Switch 2 Joy-Con. I don't know if there is one or not, but since they are compatible, I guess if you have a game that needs IR, then you can just whip out your old Switch 1 Joy-Con to play that game. And if the Switch 2 Joy-Con does not have an IR reader, it might be because of the new gimmick that the Switch 2 Joy-Cons can do, and that is to use your Joy-Con like a computer mouse. This opens up all kinds of opportunities for developers. I mean, just look at Mario Party Jamboree. What they're doing with it is they're getting new minigames that involve using your Joy-Con like a mouse, as well as a brand new wheelchair basketball game, which looks kind of cool. It's called Dragon Drive. But the best use case I can see for something like this would be for playing games like Civilization 6, where instead of using your stick to try to go through all the selections to select something, you can just select something like a mouse. It's going to be so much easier to point and click and play games like that on the Switch now. And I saw from a different YouTuber that this new feature is actually really easy to use the mouse on your lap. So you don't have to go out and buy a new coffee table or something like that for your living room. Another thing that I thought was kind of cool that not a lot of other YouTubers are talking about is that you can change the colors or the faceplates of the new Joy-Cons pretty easily. They're pretty swappable. Now, I don't know if like the black part of it is going to be easily swappable or not, but at least some parts are going to be easily swappable. And I can see Etsy right now being filled with Joy-Con faceplate things of different patterns, and I think that's going to be really cool to have that option out there. And now let's talk about the Pro controllers. Now these are also going to be compatible, so you can use the Switch 1 Pro controller on the Switch 2, no problem. Now the new Pro controller does come with a headphone jack and improved thumbsticks and 2 programmable buttons on the back, and also the new C button as well. And because of all this compatibility that Nintendo is providing with the Switch 2, I'm hoping that some of my old third-party controllers for the Switch 1 will work on the Switch 2. That's one of the first things I'm going to test out when I get my Switch 2. So now let's talk about the new features that the Switch 2 are going to add. So first, they have a built-in microphone to be able to talk with friends. Finally, after all the other consoles have already done this for years, Switch is finally adding the ability to talk with friends without using like Discord or something like that. All you have to do is hit the C button and pay for a online Switch subscription. And there are some games that might use the microphone in the game, like Mario Party Jamboree is gonna do. Now, I doubt this microphone is going to work well when it's next to a TV when it is in dock mode, but I guess that's why there is a headphone jack in the Pro controller. Hopefully that will allow you to use a microphone as well and not just headphones. And if you end up using Joy-Cons while in TV mode, I don't know how well that microphone is going to work out for you. There is also a camera you can plug in during dock mode. Now, in my opinion, this looks a little choppy and bad, but it's a really cool concept. You can video call and screen share at the same time to hang out with friends, or you can put your face in games like Mario Party, or even have 4 players split screen in the same room and put everyone's individual face and their characters on screen with only a camera. And some mini games don't just do your face, but your entire body to play different Mario Party video games. That looks kind of funny. So I'm excited to give that a try as well. Okay, so the next new feature is a game changer. No joke. If you are thinking about getting a Switch 2, this is something you have to keep in mind, is local game sharing. It's another great feature that allows you to now take games. I think they have to be select games that Nintendo allows, but anyways, you can take games that you own and share them with other people. So think of a game that normally allows split screen. you normally are playing next to another friend, but that friend might not be with you at this time. They might be at their house. So you can game share with them at their house, and now you can both play the same game. That's really cool. If you think the prices are high for the Switch 2 games, this might be another option for you. You guys both go halvesies or something on a new game, and you can both play it. Now, this is a exceptionally just amazing feature that they have added to the Switch 2. It reminds me of what they used to do with the Nintendo DS, like on Super Mario Bros. You were able to play with a friend and the friend didn't need to own the game. And with Mario Kart DS, you could race up to 8 players as long as at least one person owned the game. Now, if you didn't own the game, you were forced to use Shy Guy, but that's really cool. You were able to play the game, all the maps, everything. You just were limited to one character. We still got to have a blast with your friends. Now, someone who owns a Switch 2 game will be able to share up to 3 other game systems that don't have the game. And remember, they don't even have to be in the same household to share a game. And you're able to share to Switch 1 consoles. So if you have a Switch 2, you're able to share your game to people with Switch 1 consoles. Now, I highly doubt that you'll be able to like share Mario Kart World with a Switch 1 console, but if you have a Switch 1 game, I bet you'll be able to like share to a Switch 1 console. Now, I just thought of this just now, off script. That means I might be able to play Pikmin with my friends online. That's something I've been wanting to do forever. I want to play battle mode Pikmin 3. Oh my gosh, that opens up a whole new world for me. Now, do keep in mind that the Switch 2 can initiate the sharing and Switch 1 can receive the sharing. However, a Switch 1 console is not able to initiate the sharing. Now, game sharing is different than the release of the new virtual game card, where you can share your digital game with friends as if you handed them a physical copy of the game for a little while. And this feature was added to Switch 1 and 2, which is completely different than game sharing. Another thing that this Switch 2 has are upgrade packs. Now, earlier I mentioned how you can put a Switch 1 game in a Switch 2 and it will naturally play better with the new hardware. However, this is just an assumption. We do know for a fact, though, that some games are going to get an enhanced version, and some of these upgrades are going to be in new features that are only available on the Switch 2. For example, some of these upgrade packs will be free if you already own the Switch 1 version of the game, like Mario Odyssey, Echoes of Wisdom, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and so much more have already been confirmed. However, some will cost money to upgrade, or you can continue playing the Switch 1 version of the game on the Switch 2 with no additional charge. But for example, Mario Party Jamboree will add new mini games that only the Switch 2 could provide with the TV pack for an extra $20. And Kirby and the Forgotten Land adds a brand new parallel story with reworked levels with a new theme of a meteor shower hitting the Forgotten Land, creating a star-crossed world for an extra $20. And then there's $10 upgrades for both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but you ask me, in my personal opinion, they are not worth the upgrade price, but I'll let you do your own research on that. Now, they haven't released the price for some games, like is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond going to cost money in an upgrade pack? Does it come free? Same with Pokemon Legends Z through A. Will it be free or will it cost money? Don't know. Speaking of all these new games and upgrade packs and such, what do you think about the new Switch 2 case? Do you like the new red design, or do you prefer the Switch 1 version? Or should we even go back to blue with the Wii U? So now let's talk about retro gaming on the Switch 2. Another reason you may want to upgrade is because of the new retro game, specifically the GameCube game is exclusive to the Switch 2 and costs $50 per year with a subscription. Now, not a lot of GameCube versions will be available right away. Right now, there's confirmed Zelda The Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, and F-Zero GX. And one thing that I love about these is if the game was originally split screen, you'll be able to play those split screen games online with friends. I mean, honestly, I'm so excited if they ever release like Double Dash, as I want to destroy my friends in a baby cart tournament. I don't know about you, that's my favorite map. I'll always love baby cart on Double Dash. Now, these GameCube games will also run at a higher image quality and higher resolution, and the ability to remap controls. Now, this may not be worth it at launch, but there's a lot of GameCube titles coming to the retro version of the Switch 2 that I'm excited about. And they'll also be releasing the option to buy a wireless GameCube controller that works with the Switch 2. Now, that's going to be awesome for the new Smash game that will come out, hopefully, and maybe playing Mario Kart World with the GameCube controller would also be really cool. So now we come to the question as to, should you wait to get a Switch 2, or should you upgrade and buy now? So another option you have is to simply just wait to buy a Switch 2. I doubt the price of the console will actually drop, but you might be able to pick up a used one from your local game store or eBay. And you might be able to get the games used too to save a few bucks. Or you could wait until there's more games out there released on the Switch 2 that makes it more worth to pick up a Switch 2 console. Maybe right now you might be able to get by with just your Switch 1 games and game sharing with your friends with their Switch 2. Maybe you still have a lot of Switch 1 games that you haven't been able to beat yet, so you might be able to get by just playing those games first before you upgrade to a Switch 2. Before you upgrade, you know? And then if your game happens to have an upgrade pack available, you can put the game into your Switch 2 whenever you get it, transfer your save data, no problem, from the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, and then upgrade the game and experience the new content. But if you do decide to wait, keep this in mind. Every single console has a limited edition. So maybe you want to wait until you get the limited edition of Smash Bros. Switch 2 version of the console. I mean, the first limited edition Switch 1 came out just after 3 months of the actual release of the system. And then also, every console has a new improved version of itself about halfway through its life cycle, or even a light version. I mean, the Switch Lite came out after 2 years of the Switch 1 being released, and then the Switch OLED came out 4 years after the original release date of the Switch. And then another option you have is that after you upgrade to your Switch 2, sell your Switch 1. At my local game store, they were selling the original Switch for $225, an OLED Switch for $275, and a light Switch for $150. Now, you probably won't get those prices, but it gives you like a starting point of what you know the value is for the Switch. And then everything is backwards compatible, so you need to be a little choosy of which games you want to sell and which controllers you want to sell. So what do you guys think? Should you wait, buy a Switch 2 now, or is the Switch 2 going to be a flop like the Wii U? No need to buy it at all. Please let me know your plans about the Switch 2 in the comments down below, and don't forget to join my live stream on launch day, June 5th, where we're going to be live streaming Mario Kart World and talking about the Switch 2 in general, and I can answer any questions you have about the Switch 2 since I'll have one, basically. Anyways, guys, thank you for liking the video and hitting that subscribe button. It means a lot, and happy gaming. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. Peace. Bingo battle. It's called bingo battle. I don't know what I said, battle mode. It's whatever for Pikmin 3.